There are a few features in Affinity Photo that are a bit hidden inside the UI, even though they can be pretty useful. So let's go over some of those features. You can very simply create a pattern by opening the layer dropdown, and then you can choose to either create a new blank pattern layer or to create one from your selection. When creating a blank one, you're prompted to choose the dimensions of the input that is used to create the pattern. And this is very important because when you're upscaling the pattern, the DPI of the pattern will become lower. So if you upscale it and then want to draw on it, it will automatically be in low DPI and will look blurry. When selecting the pattern layer with the Move tool being active, you can choose between different upscale filters. Nearest is especially useful if you plan to use pixel art, as it won't blur the pixels. You can use both existing images and paint to create patterns, but no vectors, sadly. But the performance of the patterns is pretty good, and it's very useful that you can draw over the seams. And you can also choose to mirror the pattern. If you already have a more complex pattern that is preferably seamless and tileable, you can apply it as a fill. To do so, you have to select the gradient tool, and up here, you set it to Bitmap. This will open up your file explorer and you can navigate to an image to apply it. And with the handles of the gradient tool, you can transform the bitmap. This also works in Affinity Designer and Publisher. Sometimes you need to just quickly apply a drop shadow to something, and this is where the QuickFX window comes in handy. You can open it through the window dropdown. I like to have it in the panel above my layers. And there you can very quickly access compact versions of the layer effects. Definitely saves you a few clicks, especially if you need rather simple setups. The options there are also linked to the layer effects, so the changes you make in one of those affect each other, which means you can set up more complex layer effects and then quickly make adjustments to them in the QuickFX window. Some options I feel like are a bit too compact. For example, the gradient overlay just lets you change the opacity, so this is one of the effects where you really need to set it up in the layer effects first. Styles are rather essential as they are so powerful, but I feel like most people don't know about them. You can open them under the window dropdown. There are a few presets Affinity already ships with, and you can apply those styles to pretty much everything. They can include settings for fills, including bitmaps, outlines, layer effects, and text styling like the type of font. You can create your own styles either through the hamburger menu on the styles window or by right-clicking whatever you want to create a style from and choosing to create a style in the context menu. The presets are also synced between Photo, Designer, and Publisher. You can also create different categories for the styles. Now maybe you don't want to create a preset from your style, but want to apply layer effects or similar from one object to another. For this you can choose a style dropper, which is under the eyedropper tool. You can pick up a style from a layer and then drop it to other ones inside the canvas. On the very top you can also choose what the style dropper should pick up. Live filters are very powerful as they are non-destructive, which means you can always go back to them and make changes. One of the most powerful ones is the Procedural Texture filter. You can put equations there to generate all sorts of textures, and you can even customize inputs for different variables. You might be intimidated by the math and the documentation, but there are plenty of presets already available in Affinity Photo. Those let you create a lot of customizable patterns. As a start, before completely building your own equations, you could also add some custom variables to existing presets. There is Perlin noise, Voronoi noise, checkerboards, waves, and more. To make sure the filter works, you have to work on a layer that isn't empty. You can just fill an entire layer with the fill tool or work on a photo, as the Procedural Texture filter can also apply effects to an image like channel swapping or bump map lighting. I use it mainly to create patterns and textures. You can also apply the filter to further customize it with things like the liquify persona. There are also procedural masks called live masks. You can apply them by selecting a layer and going to the layer dropdown, or by right-clicking the mask icon in the layers panel. The live masks can create masks based on the hue range or the luminosity, and you can also combine them. As they are non-destructive, you can go back to them and make changes as long as you don't apply them. The hue range isn't really suited for removing backgrounds or isolating objects, because it will likely pick up colors across objects because they might have a tint in there from reflections or because they are translucent. But this is also kinda the advantage of a hue range, because it creates a mask with very soft fall-offs. So when you use it as a mask for an effect, the effect gets applied in different strengths, which can quickly lead to good results. They might need some manual retouching though. Now, this is useful if you have a 360-degree image. From the layer settings, you can set the projection to rectangular so you can turntable around the image in a 360-degree view. Might be useful if you need a sky background in one of your compositions and you want the sun in a specific position to match a scene you're making. And you can also export your current view as a 2D image. If you ever want to leave the projection, you can do so from the same dropdown where you've enabled it. With macros, you can record sequences of actions inside of Affinity Photo. The macro panel can be opened in the window dropdown. You can start recording actions using the red button. Any recordable action will be listed there, and you are also able to disable accidental actions. With this button you can stop the recording, which you can resume at any time. And using the play button, Affinity Photo will go through the list of actions. You can also save them to the library panel or export them as a file. Now, macros are mainly useful for repetitive tasks, like you could create a chain of live filters and apply that to multiple elements. This is very individual, so maybe keep an eye out on what actions you repeatedly use across projects, and then decide if having a macro of that would save you some time. If you found this video helpful, it would be nice if you would help my channel by subscribing to it. And if you know about more cool features in Affinity Photo, feel free to share them in the comments.